You want to learn about some sweet tuner parts that you could take home for free?
Well, we've got news for you. We will be reviewing authentic performance parts and giving them away to one lucky enthusiast.
Check out our webinars live now on slipanglemedia.com. Gain some knowledge of these sweet tuner parts and have the opportunity to take them home for absolutely free with great odds. At this point in my life, at 35 years old, I've been fortunate enough to drive just about every significant sports car known to man. And there's still one of them that is the best driving car with a fully mechanical suspension. And that's the gosh darn Mazda RX-8. Guys, this is my 2006 Mazda RX-8 Shinka Edition. This is my 3-season daily driver. At the YouTube channel, The Slip Angle, we call this car Project Great Daily. And it really is a great daily driver. So what brought me to this car? I'm a full-blood Mazda guy. What got me into really appreciating the art of driving was the Mazda Miata. And at this point in my life, I've owned a second-gen Mazda RX-7. I progressed to a 1991 NA body style Mazda Miata, to a 1999 NB Mazda Miata, then to the third generation Mazda RX-7s. I have two 93 FD RX-7s, and ultimately, which led me to this car, the 2004 to 2011 Mazda RX-8. Why is this car so special? I'll admit, when it came out, I thought it was too big, too heavy, too ugly, and not enough power. And then it started to show typical rotary woe issues that deterred a lot of people from ownership of it, and it wasn't exactly a cheap car. This was a more than $30,000 car back in 2004 for a fully loaded one, and that was real money back in those times. And Mazda built this car to be like a flagship car, but it really shows when you dive into this car. These things are a gosh darn bargain now. I mean, I can't think of another car where you get more value per dollar spent than the Mazda RX-8. And it's like kind of the double-edged sword. Those quirks and reliability issues that need to be sorted, which it is possible, gets you a fantastic car for very, very little money. So I always had this kind of like a fantasy as of being a Mazda fanboy of one day driving a black, kind of pimped out Mazda RX-8 for a daily driver. Well, 10 years later, at least 10 years later, that opportunity came about. I picked this car up in 2015. I bought it from the original owner, who was a 56-year-old woman who started to have hip problems and didn't want to drive a manual transmission anymore. With a sticker price of almost $37,000, she gave me the window sticker. I bought this car for 12 grand with 22,000 miles on the clock. So she basically lost 24 grand and change to put 22,000 miles on the car. It was the bargain of a century in my eyes. The Mazda RX-8, what sets this car apart from all the AA ARM cars that I own, the Miatas, the FD RX-7, the S2000, is that it has that Mazda heritage, that beautiful handling that Mazda engineers are so passionate about creating, but the car feels like a premium sports car in most regards. Sure, there's some touch points in it that are a little bit chintzy in the materials, but again, you have to think of the price point of this car. But it's a quiet, comfortable cabin, and Mazda suspension engineering, what they did specifically in this car, in my opinion, is the best that Mazda has ever produced, and they haven't produced anything quite like this since. I've had plenty of seat time in the ND Miata. It's a great car, it's definitely a Mazda, but it's not this. So the RX-8 is, for me, I wanted a sports car for a daily driver, but I wanted something that had a little more practicality. The RX-8 has the back seat, so it fits the bill for that. It's a totally hoonable car. And that's probably the most important thing that I need for me to satisfy my daily commute. I want a car that when the mood strikes, which happens quite often, that I can asshole that thing on the drop of a dime. And the RX-8 fits that bill perfectly. Stock, it needs a little help, but with a little bit of suspension tuning, got a couple power mods on this. The motor build is mild. It's a full bolt-on car, exotic speed header, Racing Beat resonated mid-pipe because I want to keep the exhaust noises quiet, Racing Beat full catback. This is actually a very quiet, fully uncorked rotary engine. It has a cold air intake that's routed into the front bumper, some lightweight accessory pulleys, oil metering has been removed so I don't pull oil from the crankcase anymore. I pre-mixed from an external reservoir using what's called a Sohn oil metering adapter. It's all tuned with a Mazda Edit ECU, which is just flash tuning on the stock ECU, so it still allows the car to pass emissions without throwing any OBD2 check engine lights. There's some basic weight reduction on it with the steering wheel and some of the factory emission stuff that's been removed. The car dynoed at 200 to the wheels, DynoJet STD corrected horsepower. I also have a S2 rear limited slip differential, which has a 4.77 final drive ring and pinion over the stock 4.44. So it gets a little bump in gearing, puts a little more of that torque to the rear wheels, and gives you a little peppier acceleration. With a mild suspension setup, this car is a tremendous amount of fun. And when you're in the power band of this, the 6,000 to 9,000 RPM range, it's perfect because it keeps me honest. It's not too fast of a car where I don't enjoy driving like my all-motor ITB Miata or my Honda S2000, which are, you know, they're lower horsepower cars, but they have a little bit of power considering what they are. Let's call them high 13-second cars. So this car is great because it keeps me honest in that regard. So the car really fits the bill for a nice daily driver, and it's quiet. It's a quiet, nice cabin to be in. It's got a good stereo from out of the box. It doesn't have any of the latest tech in it, but for me, being a 90s car guy, this is like the peak of the 90s car. The dash layout is still very 90s-esque. You don't have all the fancy electronics or the big iPad screens in the car, and it still provides a very mechanical feel to it. The handling balance of this car is what really makes this such a tremendous car. Mazda did a very unique setup in the rear suspension of it. There's actually 5 ball joints per corner. It's not a double A-arm suspension or double wishbone in the rear, it's a multi-link setup. But it's the way that they engineered it with all those ball joints and how this thing absorbs bumps. It has a lot of suspension travel. It uses a double A-arm front, so you get that kind of heroic, sharper turning like you do on the Miata and the FD and the S2000. But that rear suspension being designed the way it does means that you can go outrageously fast in this car while cornering over bumpy roads, which would normally upset every other car in the fleet, and just about even every modern sports car. Like for instance, a 991 GT3 that I did a review on.
Now this is a bumpy section here. Ooh, see the car's hopping, but we are traveling at a big rate of speed. Most of my cars get upset over that.
Same road, I can keep this car pedal flat to the floor over this crest where like almost every car gets upset there by the bumps. This car does not. So Mazda did a brilliant job engineering the suspension on this, and it's all mechanical. That's what's so cool about it. Modern cars drive better, I'm sure, and I've experienced modern cars that drive better, but they have very complicated designs in the suspension, often with electronics or hydraulic stuff going on. And like that's, for me, being like kind of a more simple mechanical guy doesn't really like impress me. So because Mazda was able to get the job done all mechanical, I have to tip my hat to what they did for the RX-8. It's really that good. But the thing that ties it all together is that this car, at its limits of grip, as it transitions into oversteer, it's fully communicative, just like a Miata. It's a longer wheelbase like a BMW M3, so the car doesn't rotate like a scary, snappy, oversteery, short wheelbase, AA arm car. It's graceful. It's so smooth and progressive at the limits of grip. It's super confidence inspiring, super fun, super entertaining. It's like the perfect dance partner to drive with. The biggest Achilles heel with the RX-8, aside from poor gas mileage and the reliability stuff, is it's just about 200 horsepower short. The chassis is amazingly rigid. On the Newton meter scale, or whatever the rating is, it's like 30,000, which is like way higher than most modern sports cars. The crash test ratings on this thing were amazing when it came out. It had the best side impact out of any other car on the road. With the way Mazda structured the suicide door to integrate with the front doors, it actually creates a crash structure that makes the impact ratings like way higher. It's just a really cool car, and I think it's aging really well. I can't say that for a lot of cars, but when I look at an RX-8 versus the way modern cars are designed, I think the size of it is very appropriate. It's not too heavy. This one tips in under 3,000 pounds now with the stuff that I've taken out of it, and a Shinka is basically Grand Touring trim. Plus the Shinka package, which I got rid of that anyways. But the car, I mean, overall, I love the look of it. I think it looks great in black. It's got really unique lines. I love the bulgy fenders, the aggressive headlights. I think this car looks bueno with those Advent TC4 wheels on there and the umber bronze, all umber bronze, limited color. It's just a really cool, grown-up looking sports car, but it still has like that boy racer, hoonability to it, and it's just a really cool package. So for me, the RX-8 is an almost near perfect daily driver. I do wish it had more power though. Let's put that out there.
Quinn, what do you have to say to the people who ask you, how much oil does this thing burn?
Oh, Matthew. We're going to set the record straight here. Boys and girls, rotaries do not burn oil because of seal issues. They burn oil because they inject that oil to lubricate the apex seals. It's by design. This car does not burn oil. If anything, my oil goes up because of the unburnt fuel that makes its way into the crankcase. So there's that.
I can't get low. Get low, get low, get low. But